Scott Erlin in with head men's soccer coach Haley Odiana, here to put a bow on the 2015 men's soccer season. Coach, you look back on the season, 10-3-3 overall, third place in the Southland Conference. And I know, talking to you after the season, you really felt like this is a team that deserved to be in the NCAA tournament and once they would have got there, could have done, who knows what would have happened. Just assess the season in overall terms.
Yeah, first of all, we played 16 games and lost 3. So, yeah, on a tough schedule that you have to play to qualify at large, that's pretty tough, But if you even look at those 3 losses, we outshot those teams on those 3 losses 48-30, to which that doesn't even count that at times we hit the post. In one game only, we hit the post 6 times. So easily we could have gone undefeated in the season. From beginning to end in the season, from opening week to the last consideration regional rankings, we were top 10. So entering the South Atlantic tournament, we were number 7 bubble because 6 go to nationals. And then we didn't lose. We were knocked out in penalty kicks, which gets recorded as a tie. But to make the story short, we did not make it. The team that went ahead of us with 4 losses, we finished with 3 losses, really went over by a hair.
So you look back on it, and you had a great start to the season, 6-0-1, get up to number 28 in the national rankings, and then we suffer a couple hard, tough losses, 2-1 to Wingate and Carson Newman, who both end up in the NCAA tournament. So the margin was really slim. Do you feel like maybe it was those 2 losses right there that kind of did us in?
Yeah, absolutely. So we throughout the year were the 3 top teams in our conference, the 3 top teams in the region, or at least the 3 teams that were in consideration in the region. So yeah, one of those wins would have done the trick, but you got to remember we played Wingate again in the tournament, and that game went penalty kicks. So had we won that game, that would have erased one of those losses. So that also would have done a trick.
So you talk about you were a team that was playing really well at the end of the season. You had that loss to Mars Hill, which really felt like a win. We talked about it afterwards. Hit the post 6 times or the crossbar, and then you finish off. Before that, you had the 2 5-0 wins. Finished with 2 wins in the season, and then you had the tie, the amazing thrilling game in the quarterfinals. So you really felt like you guys were playing well. So is there a part of you that makes that even harder to deal with, that the season didn't go on after the SAC quarterfinal or the SAC semifinals?
Yeah, you at least want to always be in contention, and we were. So now just watching the teams that made it and how far they went, and I'll add one more to the equation. For instance, Carson Newman made, Wingate made, so we played those guys, and then Limestone is the team that jumped ahead of us and made a run deep. They lost to Young Harris late on a 2-1 game. But the team that actually continues to cruise in our region is Pfeiffer, and it doesn't matter, it doesn't count, but we scrimmaged them in preseason, and my guys keep bragging that we're the only team that beat them during the year, but the truth is we're up there with these guys.
So now let's talk about maybe your group of seniors. You had 5 seniors that graduated, and 2 of them were full-time starters, and Leonardo Da Silva and Nathaniel Johnson. So talk about that group and maybe what the impact they had the last 2 or 4 seasons, depending on who they were, and then what you lose going forward without them.
Well, we have 6 seniors, and anytime a senior stays long enough, they're important. But you mentioned 2 that are up there, consistently, our conference, our region. I'm sure they'll be in consideration for our region. Different kind of players, Nate, as a defender, was very dominant, a great leader from the back. Physically speaking, he was imposing, and he was a captain. He was a leader on and off the field. Leo was a pure goal scorer, but quite frankly, for the past 2 years, very, very injury prone. We didn't have him for the better part of the season. 50% of our season he did not play. He did not play late in the year. Did not play in the tournament. The little time that I put him on the field late in the year, it was basically not the level that we were used to. Still was my leading scorer. Still made first team all conference. Still possibly will make our region. So that's how important that kid was. But when you look at both guys, coincidentally, if you look at those guys being quote unquote starters, they dealt with injuries that we had to play other people out there many times during the year, and those other people are returners. So we almost have a starting team returning, really.
Well, and that brings me to my next point is that you have 9 players coming back that appeared in at least 13 games this year, and a lot of those were starters. And it seemed like, and including that group as Danilo Da Silva and Henrik Rezic, 2 guys who were, for all intents and purposes, your best offensive players by the end of the year. And then you also return a starting goalkeeper in Pedro Uzi. So just, you have to feel good the way, not necessarily the way the season ended, but there has to be a lot of high expectations for this team next year with who comes back.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, and normally that's how soccer coach operates. You look at your top 15, and in our case, really 20, because this team was legitimately that deep, to see, all right, who's coming back. Because if you're on that range, even if you played a little less this year because there were a senior ahead of you, you figure on the guys that will be ready to step up. Well, of my top 20, 17 are coming back. So, yeah, that's ecstatic. And really, that there's guys this year that towards the end of the year, such as MJ, you mentioned several great names, but MJ Sheriff, Rafael Baera, Hisham Delacis, Nick Spielman, and on and on and on. That's they're still so young, and man, they're ready to step up.
Well, Coach, talk for just we'll finish. We'll get you out of here with this. Just talk about how you will look back on this season. It was a 10-win season. It was a great season, more highs than lows. But you kind of feel like it ended more shortly or more abruptly than you would have hoped. So how will you look back on the 2015 campaign?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, very proud of how they played. I've been on deep runs to which, looking back, I thought that could have ended on the day 1 or day 2 or day 3. That's the nature of playoffs. And I've been short runs, such as the 2012 team, that we were as good as anybody in the country. So all you want is to be in contention and be good enough to make a deep run if you get called. The rest, you don't control. Part of it is the system. We don't have automatic qualification, but that's about to change. There's a big push, possibly even this coming year. But part of it is the game of soccer. It's very volatile. A team that can buckle down and keep tight and push it to PKs has a shot any given day. So, no, I'm very proud of them.